My name is Allison Butler. I am a lecturer and the Chief Undergraduate Advisor in the Department of Communication at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. It means that I run the advising program in the department. We have over 900 students who all have various and sundry needs and goals and things that they want to accomplish and struggles and interests, and what we do in advising is make sure that we provide a space for students to come have those conversations. I work with a full-time staff of 2 other professional advisors and 13 peer advisors. I really like students, and I've been teaching for a while, and I enjoy teaching. I love that classroom space and where you get to have that kind of sustained conversation about a particular topic. But I also like talking to students about other things, and it would probably go against the course expectations to talk about goals or challenges or interests or your study abroad experience or how frustrating AdDrop can be like in the classroom, and I would take away from the content. So advising gives me the opportunity to work with students in so many different levels and hear all these amazing experiences that our students are having. So my area of research is in critical media literacy, and this has been something that I've been interested in for a really long time, definitely before I knew it had the name critical media literacy. When I was in elementary school, I was invited to apply to a honors program, gifted and talented program. It didn't really have a name quite then. That was designed to be an interdisciplinary program drawing on history and English literature and video production. And the year that I started 7th grade was the first year of the program. And we went all the way through high school. It was super fun being like the guinea pig the first year. And the way that our courses worked was our history, our English, our video production courses worked because they all worked in a block together. And if we did a project, for example, that had something to do with history, we might also be reading about it in our English class and then producing media appropriate to the time on that subject as well. And you know, middle school and high school are tough. They're certainly not anybody's easiest years of life. But when I got to college, I started looking back at my high school and my middle school experience, and I was like, what was I learning? Like, there's got to be a name for that. There's got to be a thing that's called. And that was when I got introduced to media literacy. And I was like, that's it. Like, and it just made so much sense, and it was just so engaging to me. So I was like, I got to keep studying this. And so I studied communication in college and went on to get a master's and a PhD at New York University, where I was able to study media literacy. And by that point, it was like, I know the name and I got to know all the literature. And so after grad school, I wanted to figure out a way to work both with college students and with high school and middle school students. And so there was a couple little stops along the way, but that's what I get to do here at UMass, is I get to teach media literacy and I get to teach about education. And in those classes, both of those classes have a required civic engagement component where my students are working with youth in the community, and they get to do that media literacy work with youth. And so I still get to work with younger people as well as working with college students. And then also the advising stuff means I get to work beyond the classroom as well. So it's a fabulous collection of experiences. In the fall, I teach a class called Media and Education, and that focuses on, well, it's one of those things where you can judge it by its title. We do a lot of work on education and theories of education, as well as how the media represents, in popular mainstream film and television, represents education. And then in the spring, I teach my media literacy class, which really dives into the theory and the practice of media literacy. I do. For two years after I finished my PhD, I worked in New York City at a New York City public school. This was part of the mayor at the time, Mayor Bloomberg's initiative was to create a series of small schools. New York City was known for its large schools, and that was deemed to be problematic for at-risk, underserved, impoverished youth. So they created this small schools movement, and most of those schools were built around a particular theme. So I was hired at the media school to build their media literacy curriculum. And that was really challenging on multiple levels. I went in there thinking, okay, I'm gonna bring all this theory that I've learned and apply it, and whoa, is it an eye-opening experience in terms of what those high school students were dealing with in their whole complex lives, not just in the classroom. So I was able to do some research with the students that I worked with, and I interviewed students about their experiences with media education, which really opened up conversations about their experiences with urban education. So I was able to write my first book based on those interviews. It's called Media Education Goes to School. And then a couple of those students, they started graduating and started moving on, and I was moving out of New York City too, but I wasn't really finished with my communication with them. And so I spent a few years working with a handful of students on a sort of more long-term project, exploring their experiences as they graduated high school and moved into work or college. And that became my second book, which is called Majoring in Change. And that's about how they negotiated their journey from being high school students to being young adult professionals. And since then, I've written a lot of journal articles on specific media education and media literacy projects and work. I'm really very interested in teacher training in media literacy, so I've done some work training teachers in media literacy and then writing about that. Oh, absolutely. I think one of the reasons why I get to remain so excited by my academic career is that I have a lot of other stuff to help filter all that noise in my brain. So if given half a chance, I'll be hiking a mountain somewhere. Mount Washington is my absolute favorite. I've summited it 3 years in a row with a very dear friend, and each year it carries with it its own sort of special circumstances. Mount Washington's kind of a magical place. You can never predict the weather other than that it's going to be uncertain. So we did it one year in the end of May with hats and coats and gloves, and the next year I got like the worst sunburn I've ever had. It's just shocking on Mount Washington because there's usually snow at the summit. And then this past year was just this beautiful, idyllic day of waterfalls and sunshine, and so I love climbing mountains, I love going rock climbing, I love going camping, really kind of getting outside as much as I can. My favorite hiking companion is my dog. He's getting a little older now, he's a senior citizen, so I kind of have to sneak out the house and try and do some of those more difficult climbs without him, but he's a fabulous walking companion. I supervise the peer advisors, and that means that I'm sort of keeping an eye on their office hours when they're meeting with students, as well as overseeing some of the projects that they work on, getting them involved in different activities that we want peer advising representation for in the department, and then supporting them in their service projects. So it's a ton of fun. It's fabulous because the peer advisors they're these incredibly motivated, energetic, engaging, and caring, charismatic human beings. So it's like the easiest thing in the world. Like, the language is that I'm their supervisor, but get involved. When I first started working at UMass, I was extraordinarily intimidated by this campus. I had a lot of things to learn about UMass, and I had, my plan was, okay, I'm gonna teach my class, and I'm gonna have my office space. And those are the two things that I'm gonna get to know, because I looked at this campus and I was just like, oh, it's huge. How does anybody figure out their way around here? And that worked for a minute or two, but I wasn't really getting to know anybody. And once I kind of started branching out from that little tiny path, I was like, this place is amazing. And I walked in with this assumption that it was a lot of people sort of operating separately from each other because it was so big. And then I realized what an incredibly strong community UMass is. And I was like, I gotta get more involved. I gotta see what's going on here. And so I would like that to be something that students get to do sooner than I did. Because it is an incredible community, and it is a huge community. So get involved in something that interests you, something you might not know that you would be interested in. I moved here from New York City, and one of the things I didn't even know that I wanted was a closer connection to community, and I feel like I've found that here in the Pioneer Valley as well as at UMass. I had no idea that that was going to be important to me. I had no idea that that was going to be so enriching for me. So take a chance on something you might not know you like. I mean, worst that happens is you don't like it. No big deal, but you've given yourself that chance to see. I think getting involved in campus activities, getting involved in student clubs, getting involved in student businesses, getting involved in something in your department like peer advising makes the university feel smaller, makes it feel like you've got more of an anchor, and it gives you that support system that all of us need so much. So take a chance. I know it's scary. I know it's scary to go to a campus like a department party by yourself or some sort of gathering on your own, but I think it's really going to be worth it.